Fine. Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are about to embark on the second parak of Kiddushin. Second parak of Maseches Kiddushin. This Shiur is for the success of all the Shavuim, all the Chayolim, all the people who need Yeshua down south and up north. Should have it quickly. The second parak discusses, the beginning of second parak discusses the concept of shlichus. Before we start, I'd just like to explain something very, very basic and very important about shlichus, which I think everybody knows, but it's still worth, mentioning again. When we say that a man sends a shaliach to do any halachic act on his behalf, if let's say Reuven sends Shimon to be mekadesh a woman, right? Reuven is in Australia. He can't fly to Eretz Israel. Maybe never even saw the Kala. Blind date, blind shidduch, blind kiddushin, as we'll see. So then, so then Reuven sent Shimon. Shimon gives the money given by Reuven. Reuven gave a pruta to Shimon. Go with that pruta, with that ring, and be mekadesh the girl. Be mekadesh Rivka's prince. So then what? The second that she received the money, is she mekudeshes to Reuven? Shimon gave her the money. That very second, she's mekudeshes to Reuven. Obviously, in other words, the action of the shliach automatically, once shlichus was declared, once shlichus was appointed, he appointed the shliach. You do the kiddushin for me. The kiddushin done by Shimon on behalf of Reuven. That same second, she's now Reuven's legal wife. That's clear. And the other way around. If a woman sent a man or a woman to be her shliach to receive the kiddushin, she's stuck at home in Brooklyn and she is sending somebody to receive the kiddushin on her behalf. She's at home in Brooklyn, right? With a few hours difference, there's a wedding in Bnei Brak. Her friend receives the money on her behalf from her chosan. Is she married at that very instant, very second? Yes. In other words, the chiddush of shlichus is, and that's a chiddush. This is not like sending a child to the grocery store. This is a halachic shlichus that whatever the shliach does affects the meshaleach, the one who sent him, right away. Yeah, I'm giving over halachic powers to a person called shaliach. What I'm telling you now, by the way, is Ktsois HaChoshen. I am, giving halachic powers to the shliach, and whatever the shliach does automatically affects me and goes back towards me. Right away. That's shlichus. Says the Heilige Mishnah. Aish mekadesh boyu b'shlichoi. A man may be mekadesh with himself, meaning a man may be mekadesh a woman, may not be such a chiddush, right? Ubeshluchoi. And a man can also send the shliach. I'm not going to say the word messenger all the time. We'll just say shliach. I like you very much, Lomo, but we're going to say shliach. Aish mekadesh boyu b'shluchoi. A man can send the shliach to be mekadesh. Aisha miskadeshes ba'u b'shlucha. Also, the other way, the other side of the spectrum, a woman may be miskadeshes, may receive kiddushin herself, or send the shliach, male or female shlichim, to be miskadesh on her behalf. Meaning whatever they do would work for her. The third case is now completely different. Aish mekadeshes bitoy kshinaro boyu b'shluchoi. I explained it yesterday. I'm not sure people understood or not. As we saw in the first parak, at the beginning of first parak, there's a special halacha in the Torah regarding girls that does not apply to boys. And that is, if a girl is between the age of 0 till the age of 12 and a half, at the beginning she's called a ktana, then after the age of 12 to 12 and a half, she's called a nairo. The father is the owner of her kiddushin, which means, it's bitin ostati la'isha zeh, says the Torah, I gave my daughter to this man, right? Which means that if a person wants to marry a girl who's a minor, that is a possibility. The only person to deal with, the only person who actually receives the kiddushin, not even on her behalf, he's the owner of the kiddushin, is the father, right? So now the father may be mekadesh his daughter, meaning a father of a naira, of a girl who is above bas mitzvah within the first half year. That status called nara. Such a person may receive kiddushin. And he receives the kiddushin. He's the one. He doesn't have to give her the money. He doesn't have to ask for her consent even. And we're going to deal with that later. It's not so simple to do this to a girl. The Gemara will talk about it. Ube shluchoi. Shluchoi means the father may send the shliach. Please accept kiddushin for me / my daughter. Okay, That is what it says at the end, which means what I'm trying to stress here, it's not like she's the owner of Kiddushin and she made the father Shliach. No way. She is a minor. She can't make Shlichus, right? The father is Mekadesh. He is the one in charge and in ownership of the Kiddushin, and he, as such, can make another person also a Shliach. That's the Mishnah. Mishnah seems quite straightforward, but the Gemara has a lot to say about the Mishnah. Says the Heilige Gemara, yeah, as we noticed, it says something strange. A man may be Mekadesh and also the Shliach. What's the Chiddush? A man can be Mekadesh a woman. We know that already. Correct the Gemara. Ashta, now, B'shlucha Mekadesh, boy mi baye. If he's Mekadesh with a Shliach, if I send someone to be Mekadesh a woman for me, all the way from Australia to Yerushalayim, clearly that I have the powers to be Mekadesh a woman. So clearly I can do it myself. If I have enough power to do it through proxy, I pass the power to him. And I can do it myself. So why does the Mishnah have to say Eish Mekadesh boy ubeshlucho? Just say beshlucho. That's a chiddush. Shlichus is a chiddush. Why do you have to say boy? Answers the Gemara. Omar of Yosef. There are two different answers. Omar of Yosef, mitzvah boy Yosef mi beshlucho. A famous line. It's always a mitzvah to be physically involved in a mitzvah more than doing it through a shliach. As Rashi says, your own body is involved in the mitzvah is always better than sending a shliach. You want to do kibbud avim, as we saw in the sugi of kibbud avim, if you remember. You run to the door to welcome your father. Don't send your children and talk to me about chinuch. Be mechanech yourself. In other words, you have to do and be physically involved in the mitzvah. So you can philosophize and say that the shluch k'maisa. At the end of the day, physically, when you're involved in the mitzvah, it's better. You're in it yourself, and therefore, it's better to do it yourself rather than doing shliach. You got stuck, corona, diseases, wars, shine, beseder. But it's better to be involved in the mitzvah yourself. If you can, don't send a shliach by proxy. Now, kiho of Safra, and we're going to bring other examples to do with Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos, it says, the mitzvah to prepare for Shabbos is a mitzvah on the person himself more than other people. It says that even if you have many, many servants, or you have, other people that can help you, you should be involved in the preparation of Shabbos, for Shabbos. Look what the Gemara says of Safra, the Heilige Amoira of Safra, Machrichesha. He would roast, he would toast, he would roast the head of the animal, the piece of meat. Yeah, there was like a head of I don't know, whatever that was. It was meat, I think, not fish. They say fish, whatever, some kind of nice chunk of meat. He himself would cook. Can you imagine an Amoira standing in the kitchen like a chef? Yes, it's for Shabbos, so he did it himself. Rove molach shibuta. Rava would salt. Yeah, would salt the fish called shibuta. I'm sure our article has some very nice fancy name for shibuta. No, fish. Shibuta is a type of fish, whatever, the pachkabam fish, whatever. I'm joking. It's a kosher fish. And Rava would salt that fish for Shabbos, and I'm sure Rava, you should know, the Amoraim all had servants, all had shamoshim, it says, yeah? And yet he did it himself. So it's just better to do it yourself. That's one simple answer. Ikadamri, some say, and here we come to a whole different story. Ikadamri, some say, Beha isura nami isba. If a person sends a shaliach, it could possibly involve an issa, a prohibition, if you don't do the kiddushin yourself. Before we continue, I just want to explain one thing. We're talking about mitzvah. What kind of mitzvah we're talking about? What's a mitzvah to get married? It's a mitzvah on the man to be mekayim the mitzvah of Peru and Revu, right? Peru Revu is a mitzvah in South America, Peru. Yeah, Peru Revu, yeah, be fruitful and multiply. You have to do that. And how do you do that? Not like a behema. You do it through marriage. So that's hachana mitzvah, hechsher mitzvah. Even that you have to do yourself, right? So we're talking about a mitzvah that a man has to marry a woman in order to have children, at least one boy, one girl. Very good, okay? So now, however, there's another aspect. We all know the marriage, besides Furuvu, the two people have to live together. Science fiction. Do you know that sometimes married people have issues with each other? I know I never had. No, I'm fantasizing. I'm just imagining things, right? So the Gemara is aware of that. And the Gemara says, when you think of the guy who's stuck in Australia and can't make it to the chasana, so sends a shliach, we assume that he met the girl. How did he meet her? Online, Zoom, spoke to her, maybe he saw her when he was in yeshiva 2 years ago. That's not what we have in mind in the Mishnah. In the times of the Mishnah, that's before internet, I think, and before Alexander Graham Bell. So when a person sends a shliach, the Mishnah talks about a person who never saw the girl. In other words, boy means a person saw the girl and he's about to see her now, but he's going to be Mekadesh her. And if he won't like her, he's going to say no, backing off, or she may say no. Masha'enken, the person who's sending a shliach in our Mishnah is not a person who met her on Zoom and on Google Meet and all that. No, it's a person who never saw the woman and is sending a shliach, not knowing how she looks like and not knowing how her personality, how she is really. That's dangerous. We're talking about a person, okay, blind date, that's blind Kiddushin. He goes and says to the shliach, I've heard there's a nice girl, Prince Bela Tachtarovsky from Bnei Brak, and I'm in Australia. Okay, I'm sending you, you've been Mekadesh, I don't know what she looks like, I don't know, never saw a photo. I'm okay with that. That is a problem. And that problem can even border already on Isser. According to Shulchan Aruch, it's not an Isser. Let's start with the Gemara. The Gemara says, Isura, it can be an Isser. Why? What's the Isser? Rav Yehuda Omar Rav. As Rav Yehuda Omar Rav, Rav Yehuda said on behalf of Rav, Baruch Hashem, Dom Rav Yehuda Omar Rav. Also, also it's an Isser. Also, Lodem Shikadish Yisraisha Ad Shir Eno. A man is not allowed to be Mekadesh a woman, a girl, until he sees her. In other words, you have to see the girl, you have to see the woman at least once. Yeah, I think talking to her would also help. And otherwise, you're not allowed to be Mekadesh her. Why not? Maybe he'll see something not nice about her. In other words, let's say the Kiddushin was without him seeing her. And then they'll meet eventually, the Chotz and the Kala. Hopefully he'll fly from Australia to meet his wife that he never saw in his life, right? The marriage started without them seeing each other, and he will see something miguna, something ugly about her, but he's gonna Olav, and he's not gonna like her. Yeah, she'll be miguna, she'll be even despised by him. He's not gonna like her, and he doesn't know her. Why is that a problem? The Torah says you have to love your fellow friend as yourself, which means not only it would cause problems in marriage, maybe having problems in marriage is not clearly osur. Says the Gemara, yes, it's osur because you'll be over the. Yeah, a person is not working on his marriage, is over. You're supposed to love your fellow Jew. Well, the first person you have to love is your wife, I'd like to think, yeah? And therefore, if you plan such a marriage in advance of not knowing your wife, yeah, you may not like her at all. There'll be an issue. Okay, so now, therefore what? The problem of not sending a shliach is a real problem. Let's reread the Mishnah a second. Aish Mekadesh boy. What does that mean? Preferably boy. You should do it yourself and don't send other people. Says Rashi, this very important Rashi says, if you can. If you can fly from Australia, meet the girl. Don't rely on rumors and shadchantas that tell you that she's nice. She's the best girl in the seminary. No, go fly in, meet her, and then be Mekadesh her. If you can't, and only if you can't, then bishluchoi. Otherwise, it's also. That's how Rashi is learning the sugya. Other Rishonim argue. Okay? The Seder, boy, preferably. You can't do it yourself. You can't see the girl, and from some reason, you have to get married already. Okay, so then do it bishluchoi. Now, v'chi'itma de Rav Yosef. How do we plug in Rav Yosef to the Mishnah? What did Rav Yosef say? Mitzvah bo Yosef b'shluchoi. Rav Yosef says it's not a chiyuv, it's preferable. Rav Yosef says mitzvah. It's nicer to be involved in the mitzvah yourself. How do we now pin Rav Yosef's words? What do we pin it to? Itmar de Rav Yosef, a seifa itmar. Rav Yosef's words regarding being involved yourself, bo Yosef b'shluchoi, being involved in a mitzvah is just a nicer thing. That applies to the second part of the Mishnah. What did we see in the second part? We saw ha'isha miskadeshes ba'u b'shlucha. A woman may be miskadesh through herself, or she may send a shliach, a proxy. And the same question obviously applies. Hashta b'shlucha mikadsha ba mibaya. If she can be miskadesh herself, she extends her hands to get the ring, she receives the kiddushin ba mibaya, then, well, obviously, yeah, if she can send a shliach, she has the power of sending someone to receive on her behalf. Of course, she herself can receive the kiddushin. What's a chiddush? Omer Rav Yosef mitzvah ba yoser mi b'shlucha. On the woman, we say that there's no problem of v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Soon we'll see why. The only issue is, it doesn't matter for the woman if she receives the Kiddushin or she would send a Shliach. The only reason why it's better to do it herself is because of mitzvah bayos and b'shlucha. It's not the end of the world. It's better. It's nicer. Just like the Meroim Erev Shabbos, they did the Shabbos cooking themselves, or part of the Shabbos cooking themselves, and the brining and the salting. So too, we tell the girl, hey girl, it's better if you're involved in the mitzvah yourself of receiving Kiddushin, if you can, be Toreach and fly from Brooklyn to Bnei Brak and come accept the Kiddushin. Oh, excuse me. Why isn't there no problem of an Isser by the girl? If she never saw him, right? If she's only sending a Shliach, she's sending a brother, a cousin, somebody, a neighbor from Brooklyn to be the Shliach to receive Kiddushin in Bnei Brak, why are you just telling me it's not preferable? It could be a real issue. Maybe she'll hate him. She'll see that he has a huge nose and huge ears and he's missing 5 teeth. And he's 20 kilos overweight. In other words, maybe it's an issue on her side also. And he would say, no, but her, there's no such issue. Why not? Because we follow the Heilige words of the Amor Rish Lakish. The Omar Rish Lakish, says Rish Lakish, Tav lemetav tandu melemetav armelu. A woman, as opposed to a man, and we're going to explain this soon with Tosfos, a woman as opposed to a man would be different. A woman says it's better to sit with another person, tandu, to sit, do, two together, than sitting armelu like an almono. A girl feels desperately that she wants to get married. She doesn't want an old maiden. And therefore she says, once I decided that I'm basically throwing my fate, my luck, and I'm saying, whatever may be, then she doesn't mind and she's not going to hate him. She says, okay, I'm willing to put up with whatever. I prefer sitting with another person, even if he's 20 kilos overweight and missing 3 teeth. I still prefer that over sitting alone. And it's much, much less likely she's going to hate him. And therefore, by a man who has more demands and more shtuyot, so the man would dafka say, hey, that's not what I thought about. I wasn't planning such a girl. That's not what I had in mind. It may come to hate her. But when it comes to her, she may not say that. She's not likely to say it. And therefore, by girl, there's no such issue. Now, Rashi, of course, asks the question, wait a second. If she sent a shliach, then he did not see her. There are 2 ways for the men not to see the girl. Either he sent shliach or she. Says Rashi en chinami, but the sefer of the Mishnah deals with a girl. True, that's true. In other words, if she sends a shliach or a shlicha on her behalf, it could be an issue that he'll end up hating her, but that's not the topic right now. In other words, Rashi says the Tan in the sefer is only talking about the Reisha talks about his issues, and his issues are big. You, Mr. Husband, you're not allowed to. It's not just a nice preference, it's a nice thing like cooking for Shabbos. But rather we're talking about actually it's usher to send a shliach, you may end up hating her. But if the husband is passive, he's willing to meet her and she sent a shliach, it could cause him to hate her. But that's not her problem. We're now directing her. We're now addressing her. Mitzad her, she will not hate him. So if she sends a shliach, she's okay. Elamai, from her side, it's nicer to send a shliach, to do it herself, just like it's nicer to cook for Shabbos. 1 second. Better. Let's continue. Let's continue, and we're going to see much more regarding this issue. Okay, weiter. Ha'ish mekadesh es bitoy kshehi naira. Now we're going to see a lot of things. I'm telling you now, it's a short piece. It's not hard at all. It's not a hard piece, really not. We're going to see Tosfos, and I'm going to tell you also things from the Shulchan Aruch. Before we continue, I want to ask you a question. We're saying to the woman, Miss so-and-so, or Ms., who live in Brooklyn, and you sent a shlich to Bnei Brak, we say, listen, we don't think you're going to hate him. It's not an issue of but it's nicer if you come yourself to do the mitzvah rather than the shliach. Which mitzvah does she have? Mitzvah what? Velech mitzvah. As we saw recently, with the exception of, I think, Ben Beseira, we believe that women are not chayiv beprurvu. So which mitzvah does she have? That question is asked by the Meforshim of the Shulchan Aruch. Last night I saw. What do they say? What I thought. What do you think is her mitzvah? It's a mitzvah to help another yid become a mitzvah. Yeah, you tell her you help a guy put on tefillin. That's a big mitzvah. So she loves the man. Good. She doesn't love him. I don't know. Here's the man who needs to be mekayim pru'urvu. You, the woman, are helping him mekayim pru'urvu, and that's a mitzvah. To be Messiah mitzvah is chesed. You're doing chesed with your husband by helping him create pru'urvu, and that's a mitzvah. And therefore, it's better if she's involved herself rather than sending a shliach. Okay. Weiter. Okay, let's continue. Okay, says the Gemara quoting in the Mishnah. Shehi ha'ish mekadesh es bito kshinayra. A man may be mekadesh his daughter, meaning receive kiddushin on behalf of his daughter, because he's the one in charge, when she's a naira, which means what's a naira? From the age of what to the age of what? 12, or when she has 2 hairs, until half a year later. Ha'ish mekadesh es bito kshinayra, frek the Gemara, kshinayra in kshiktana loy? What are you talking about? You telling me when she's a naira, he has the right to be mekadesh her? All the more so when she's a ktana, right? All the more so when she's a ktana, right? If she's a ktana, all the more so. Avada, when she's younger than that, of course you can be mekadesh her, right? Then why are you telling me only naira? At 12 and a half, 12 and 15 minutes, you can be mekadesh, and he can't be work on behalf of a ktana. We saw earlier in the Masechta that clearly you can. She's younger, yeah, and more dependent, and clearly the father has rights over her. Answers the Gemara, no, enachinami. It's telling you, Messiah lelerav. The reason when the Mishnah told you naira, not ktana, that helps, that supports the opinion of Rav. Domer v'yodom Rav, v'temer b'yolozo, either of Yodom Rav or Rav Lodazor say, Asur le'odem shikadesh bito kshiktano. A man is not allowed to be mekadesh his daughter when she is young, yeah? When she's ktana, meaning when she is under bas mitzvah, that is what we mean. Under bas mitzvah, do not do that. You can do it. It doesn't mean that that's the right thing to do. Until she grows up and she says, I want this and that guy. I prefer this man and not the other man. Yeah? Okay, so l'choira, we're saying that a naira has the right to choose, and then he can ask her, you're a naira, which one do you want? You want to marry the Reuven guy or the Shimon guy, the one with the glasses or the one with the blonde hair? Which one do you want to marry, this one or that? Once she decides, it's up to her decision as well. Then, yeah, then you could be mekadesh her, but the ktana has no mind of her own, right? So ktana, you can't be mekadesh. You can, if you did, it works, yeah? Well, the Maisa, you shouldn't. That's why the Mishnah chooses naira to tell me ktana is not a good idea. At this happy note, we have to see Tosfos. Let's see Tosfos inside. Tosfos has, yes, the Tosfos has 2 parts that are extremely important. Tosfos also lodem shikadesh bitoy shehi ktana. Yeah, yeah. Also lodem shikadesh bitoy shehi ktana. It's the Which Tosfos is it? Dibar maschil also leodem shikadesh. There are 2 authors. We're talking about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th one. The 5th one in the page. 5th one in the page. Yeah. So now, says the Tosfos as follows. Yeah. The Tosfos asks the question. We just said a statement about women. The women, but the Eved, it's not the end of the world for them if they marry the wrong guy. Yeah, at the end of the day, she prefers being with someone rather than being alone. So what are you so worried about? I'll marry off my 3 years old, my 5 years old. When she grows up, she'll hate him. She will never really hate him because she'll say, okay, that's my husband. That's who I live with. It's better than this than being alone. If so, what's the concern? What's the problem of a girl of 3, 7, 9, 11 to marry? Eventually, what's going to happen? Well, what's the big disaster you're foreseeing over here? The Zoni Roitza. She'll want anybody. Answers Tosfos a very, very, very big yesod, which is a whole new understanding on Tavla Meitav. Says Tosfos, Hanimili bigdoilo. That is only true regarding a big girl, an older girl. She miskadeshes alidei atzma. An older girl of 20, 19, 15, 14, even 13, she's a gdoila. She made her own decision. She's miskadeshes by atzma. The Kedushin Isratzis, since she wanted, she agreed and she decided. That's the point. A girl, and the Chiddush is a girl who's older than 12 and made her own decision, even if she said, you know what, says Hindi to Shendi, ah, I heard there's this amazing guy in Bnei Brak, Reuven from Bnei Brak. I'm sending a shaliach to receive Kiddushin. I think he's a good guy. If she afterwards realizes he's a bad guy, she won't mind as much. She won't hate him mamish because she decided. She made the decision. That's when we say Tav L'Meitav. She'll stick to her decision. She's a big girl. Even without seeing the guy, she'll be okay. Because she decided. But a Ktana who has no decision of her own, and the father decided for her, one could be concerned. If she was big, if she was old, she wouldn't have wanted. Of course, not every woman wants to marry any man. Of course, women have the preferences, and we saw that in the Gemara Parakrishan many times. Of course, the woman has preferences, as we see. But Lamaisa, if the father decided for her at the age of 5, maybe her at the age of 15 would be absolutely abhorred by the idea of being married to him, and she'll be resentful. She'll say, "Oh, my father married me to somebody who I don't want." Then she'll be resentful, and then she'll hate him. That's why don't marry your daughter by yourself when she's too young. The Shenkin, with the same 15 years old, who halachically at least has her own mind, her own decision, she went on the blind, threw her faith on the floor. She'll realize it's my decision. I'll go with it. I'll go for it. And there's no chashash that she'll regret and she'll hate him. I mean, she may regret and then she'll ask for a divorce. She won't hate him. There's no chashash sina. As opposed to a man who has more demands, he may hate the girl that he never saw. That's a difference. Now comes the big news. The Achshav. Now there's the second part. Nowadays, says Tosfos, they lived in France, right? In the what we call the Dark Ages, but it was really enlightened ages that for us. The Achshav she'anu noyagim lekadish b'noseinu afilu ktanois. Tosfos, excuse me. I see that nowadays we have a minhag of mekadesh to girls even when they're young. We know that from Yemen, from Morocco, sometimes also. Yemen was very common. They would marry off girls who were underage. They were 12. They were younger than 12. How come? Tosfos says the problem here. How do we do that? It says in the Mishnah not to do it. It says Tosfos, the golus, exile, and the oppression of the goyim and all the tsaros of the golus become more and more intense as things go by. Not like today. That was back then. If a person can give his daughter a nice dowry to give her, right now you have the opportunity to marry her off. Yalla, go for it right now. Yes, seize the moment. Maybe now you got a raise in the salary. Maybe now Ivan or Stefan or Jean-Paul now decided to give a raise in the salary. Quickly, you have some money, marry off your daughter now. Maybe later you won't have the money. Your daughter, nobody would want to marry her with. She has zero money to bring into the wedding, into the marriage, no dowry. Nobody would want her. She'll stay aguna forever. She'll stay, not aguna as we say, aguna, she'll stay single for life. That's much worse. As much as we don't like to marry off younger girls, it's better than not being married at all, the whole life, to be a spinster. And therefore, we say that's the lesser of the two evils. And also, I saw another reason brought down, the Shulchan Aruch brings more reasons, because the market is quite small. You live in a small community, and it's a problem. Sometimes in small communities, I know myself, girls and boys that tend to get married later because there's less of a, excuse my language, market. Yeah, so here too, you hop around, there's a nice boy, nice girl, yalla, let's get them together. Having said that, so that's what the Ramos says. Funnily enough, Shulchan Aruch says, it doesn't say osir. Shulchan Aruch says it's not good. It's preferable not to marry off your daughter when she's too young. And the Ramah, the Ashkenazi, he's the one who quotes Tosfos and says that nowadays, yes, we do it, it's accepted. Now there's a third opinion in the Noise Kelim of Shulchan Aruch. They say a very interesting thing. They say, Tana here, they say that the Gemara says in many places, once a girl is before her Higia lepirka. We think today Higia lepirka means in the parsha when she's 19, 20, 21. Higia lepirka means when she's close to puberty. So she's right before 12. She's 11. She's a ktana. It's a good thing to marry her off. What does it mean? Explain those noisekelim. They explain the smart the Beit Shmuel Chelkas Mechoikek. They say no. A girl. What the Gemara means over here, ktana means really small who doesn't know what she wants. Yeah. But let's say if a ktana was already 10, 11, she knows what she wants. Yeah, my 11 years old really knows what she wants. Yeah, very, very, very much. Yeah. So now, if a girl, what? Oh, true, true. However, we do acknowledge it. We do acknowledge it. The way we read the Gemara, which is a simple reading, is a ktana has no das, and Naira has das, and she would prefer, she wants Reuven over Shimon. She wants this guy over the other. Now, here, according to this pshat, no. Shehi ktana, don't marry off when she's really small, when she's 3 years old, 5 years old, 7 years old, she has no idea what she wants. But when she's closer to puberty, when she's more like 10, 11, you should wait until that age, because then she has a little bit more of seichel, and then she'll prefer one over the other. Will be kind of her decision. You ask her, and this reconciles both Gemaras. Here we say not to marry her off young. The other Gemara says yes to marry young. Very good. You should marry her right before Bas Mitzvah. Bas Mitzvah should be celebrated. Her husband should take care of her Bas Mitzvah party, not you. That's a third opinion. So Lamaskano says Shulchan Aruch, preferable not to marry them off too young. In other words, when she's below Bas Mitzvah. Ramon, based on Tosha, says when you have no choice, you do it. That was in Yemen. They had no choice in Yemen because otherwise the Goyim would have kidnapped them. Yeah. We all know about Arabs kidnapping, right? And the third opinion says it's preferable only when she's close to Bas Mitzvah. Practically speaking, don't try it at home. Yeah. Okay. Practically speaking, that's not the accepted thing to do today. I think many girls would have liked to be married rather than being in high school, but that's another issue. Okay, yeah. Fine. Weiter. Now we get to the nitty-gritty, to the main part of the beginning of the perek. Shlichus minolan. Opa. The Gemara asks a very simple, basic question. Shlichus minolan. How do you know that the concept of shlichus works? Which means, if I'm Mekadesh a woman myself, it says, how do you know I can be Mekadesh a woman? Anybody? It says in the Torah, Ki kach Isha, a man may take a woman. Very nice. Take Mekadesh a woman. But how do you know that if I gave the ring, the money to another person, to Shlumiel, how do I know that Shlumiel can be my shliach to Mekadesh another woman? And when he puts the ring on her finger, she's Mekudeshes. Or, as I told you, right? She receives the money. Excuse me. She sent someone to receive the money on her behalf. She's sleeping in bed. She's 9 hours difference. Yeah, I don't know, New York, Los Angeles. She's far, far away. And she's asleep in bed. And what? And that second, she became a married woman because someone in Bnei Brak, 9 hours away, received the money on her behalf with her consent. It's a chiddush. How do you know? How do you know that halachically such a thing works? Yeah. Says the Gemara, how do you know that? We're going to see 3 different sources for 3 different areas of halacha. The Tanya says in the Brisa. The Shilach. I would like to read the psukim before we continue. Those of you who have a nice Gemara, it has it in the sidebar. Yeah, you have to realize by me it's number 4. Yeah, ki kachish isho be'olo, number 3. Ki kachish isho be'olo v'yon losim tzachen be'enov. The Torah talks about marriage and divorce. A man took a wife, he didn't like her. There was a kimotzo be'ervas dovo. She was, unfaithful to him. Because of lo sefer krisus, he writes to her a sefer krisus. He writes to her a get. Benosan beyodo. He puts it in her hand. The shilcho mi beisoy. Please stress the words. Remember the word shilcho mi beisoy. The simple meaning of the word shilcho mi beisoy is what? He should send her away from his house. Oh, but look at what it says later. Usnei Yishacharon. The saga, the soap opera continues. Usnei Yishacharon. The second person also hates her. She's not marriage material because of Sefer Krisus. V'nosan beyoda. The shilcha mi beisoy. Boom. Again, the same story repeats itself. The story repeats itself twice. It says that the first man sent her. The second one, ochenvei, because she was unfaithful. She's not a good woman. And what? And now the second one also shilcha mi beisoy, v'chule v'chule. Okay, very nice. Now we have to know how the Gemara learns from here the concept of shlichus. The Tanya, back to the Gemara. It says in the Brisa, yeah, the words v'shilcha. If you have to translate the word v'shilcha to English, how many words would that be? 2. Sent her. Actually 3. He sent her. Let's leave him alone. He's not in the picture. He's just the husband. Yeah. V'shilcha. Sent ha. What's ha at the end? Her. So really there are 2 words here. Shilach ota. Shilcha. Detanya. V'shilach melamed shehu oise shliach. Wow. The fact that it says shilach, although the simple meaning means that the person, the husband, sends her away, the says Rashi, you could have used other words. You could have said gersha. You know what's legaresh? To kick out, to evict. In here, yeah, megaresh. Verashoim kiyam nigrash. Yeah, gorashti meinecha. It's word in the Torah. Yeah, so legaresh. Legaresh is what? Girashti mipanecha. Hashem was megaresh. You could have said legaresh. Why did the Torah say shilcha? Why do we use that verb shaleach? To hint, to allude to the fact that a person makes a shliach. A husband can create shlichus, which is a messenger, which is a proxy. The shilcha. Why did we add the ha at the end? Melamed shehi oisa shliach. Very nice. Because it says v'shilcha, 2 words, it's coming to tell you that 1 husband can make a shliach, 2 a woman who's passive, who's a recipient, she too can make a shliach. 2 types of shlichus. And by the way, so far we're talking about Gittin. The sugi here is not yet Kiddushin. I told you, right? What is this parsha about? Shilcha, give her a get. You can give her a get through a shliach, and that happens all the time. That happens actually much more commonly, right? You have husband and wives already separate, and he doesn't want to give her a get. And then the nice guy finds him in Timbuktu, and he convinces him to give a get. Lo aleinu, chas v'sholom. So it's through a shliach, and get can be given or received through a shliach. Now it says again v'shilach v'shilcha. As I just read to you, the Torah has a second pasuk again with the double word v'shilcha. Melamed shashliach oise shliach. Wow, we're not going to go into it right now, but there's another halacha. 1 shliach can create another shliach. Reuven wants to divorce his wife. I can't take it anymore. Yeah, that's it, right? A whole week without blinches, divorce. Yeah. So now Reuven sends what? Shimon, you give her a get. And Shimon met Levi in the airport, and Shimon said to Levi, you take the get because you're anyhow flying to Bnei Brak. So now you give her a get. There are a lot of things to say here. Let's just accept it for now. 1 shliach does another shliach. That's a chiddush, right? Because it's not the same. It's like 1 step ahead. It's 1 step removed. Because the Torah repeats the parsha. It says again v'shilcha. That's coming to tell me v'shilcha. Even a shliach may do another shliach. 1 messenger passes it on to another one. Yeah, like relaying. Yeah, like the torch. Okay, that's in Gerushin. Excuse me. I'm asking about Kiddushin. You tell me a psukim about divorce. Ashkechan begerushin. We found that shlichus applies to gerushin. The Kiddushin minolan. How do you know that Kiddushin is the same as gerushin? It's a Chiddush Torah. Maybe the Torah is mechadish only Kiddushin and not in gerushin and not Kiddushin. V'chitem et diolif migerushin. You want to tell me? Well, maybe just a b'mematzinu binyanav. Yeah, just like in gerushin, shlichus can work. Kiddushin also it should work automatically. Maybe it's a general concept. Says the Gemara, no, that's not true. You can't automatically derive Kiddushin from Gerushin. Why? Gerushin Gerushin, in a way, funnily enough, as it sounds to us, Gerushin is easier in a way and lighter than Kiddushin. What do I mean? When it comes to Gerushin, before Takonos Rubida Chosid, if a man just sticks a get in his wife's hand, he tells her, this is a get, you're Megoreshes, informs her, that is also Shiloh, let's inform her, I'm sorry, I can't take it anymore. And she says, no, I'll try again, I'll be nicer, let's go to the counselor, to the mediator, the psychologist, the LMNOP practitioner. No! Gerushin, Midoraisa, yes. Bal Kocha, he can divorce her against her will, Midoraisa. Kiddushin, no. Kiddushin, she has to agree. Kiddushin, he can't stick the finger and say, you are my wife. No. She has to agree. If she says no, it's a no. Nothing started. Oh, so we see that gerushin, ironically, is in a way something that can apply more and quicker, right? Right? The same woman does, the same abstinent woman, she doesn't want to get married, you can't. She does want to get divorced, you can. If so, shlichus, right? What is shlichus really? Shlichus is expanding and extending the idea of the maisa. Not only I can do the maisa can also be done by other people. That's a kula. That's a leniency. It's a leniency. It's a good solution. I'm stuck in Australia. Corona, war, diseases, stories, the dictatorship. I don't know what's going to happen next in this world, Khalila. I'm stuck in Australia, no flights. There's a fog, there's a thing, there's a strike. What's the thing? I send a shliach and he can somehow fly by boat. I don't know, not a good example. He can have his private jet. I have a guy with a private jet, he can fly. A friend with a private jet, I give him the get, I give him the kiddushin, and it's all good, right? Oh, it's a kula. It's a kula, right? It makes it easier for people. Not only I can do it, I can extend it to other people. If so, says the Gemara, wait a second. By get, because we see it's easier to give a get, you can give it to a woman, even Baal Korcha. So too, you can also use shlichus. But by kiddushin, where it's harder, because you cannot do it Baal Korcha, maybe you cannot apply shlichus as well. I don't know. But it's not automatically derived one from the other. They're not the same level. Just from my own logic, I wouldn't have inferred one from the other. Therefore, says the Gemara, we need a source. This is a famous source which we saw in the first parak. In the same psukim that I just read to you, and with the first wide line, by the way, in other words, there's a smichus, juxtaposition, as you call it, between her leaving the first guy and becoming the wife of the second guy. Maki shavaya leyitzia. As we see regarding other halachas, there's a halachic Torah-dika comparison between marriage and divorce. Ma yitzia mashvi shliach. Just like by the exit, just like by the gerushin, shliach can work. Mashvi shliach. A person may appoint a shliach. Afavoya nami mashvi shliach. Baruch Hashem, avoya, to become one's wife, to marry, to be mekadesh, also shliach works. Which again, by simple logic, I wouldn't have said it. I wouldn't have known. Thank you. Precisely because you and I wouldn't have said it, the Torah has to dafka add the extra words v'yotza v'hoisa to compare and say, yes, there's a comparison, just like Gerush and Shlichus works, Kiddushin also works. So far, we covered two areas in halacha. It's going to be hard work. We're going to cover different areas in halacha. So far, we can tick two boxes and go to have our coffee, but Shiur is not over yet. Gerushin, tick. You can have shlich for gerushin, both husband and wife, for both sides of the spectrum. Yes. Why? The shilcha, shilach v'shilcha. Not girsha, shilcha, shlichus. Kiddushin is the sidekick. Kiddushin, the Siamese twin of gerushin, they're not the same. The Torah says, v'yotze v'hoisa. If shlichus works for gerushin, it should very well work also for kiddushin. What did they say? Gerushin and also for kiddushin. Now comes a new question. Yes. Question time. Commercial. Now we're entering another area of halacha called terumos u'ma'asros. Okay, very good. We all know that a person who lives in Eretz Yisrael has some produce, or he bought produce, midarbanon. What does he have to do? Take truma. Who do you give the truma to? In Eretz Hashem, soon you'll be able to give it to a kohen. How much truma should you take? Not meiser, truma. How much truma should be taken from each kri, each batch? 10% is meiser, not truma. Truma is the first bit which is given to kohen before any other matnes kiuna, not in bikurim. Yeah, once you have a pile, the first thing you give is midoraisa. Truma is 1 in a million, even. I'm not joking. Mashu. You have 1 grain, you can give 1 grain to a kohen. Midoraisa, you can, and that's enough. Yeah, you have a huge pile, a heap of grains. 1 grain, you're a real miser, and you give the kohen 1 grain and say, I'm yaitze. Yeah, so that's very nice, maybe, or not so nice. Rabbanon said it has to be either 150, 150th, yeah, or 140, 160. There's a margin. If you're a generous person, you give 140th. You're a miser, 160th, no less than 160, and the average is 150. 1/50th, yeah, 2%, right? 2%, that's true. So now, can you do truma? Can you actually, as we say, meirim truma? Can you pick up the truma and separate truma from the pile, from the heap through a shliach? Right now, the person is in a chasana in Bnei Brak, and his field is with a heap of wheat. Is in a Golan, should have peace very soon, and now he can't leave that without maasros. He's picking up the phone, making a shliach. If he can make shliach by phone is another question, by the way. I'm giving an example which is questionable on purpose. So maybe he said it verbally, clearly to the person face to. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying it's a question. Yeah. So before he left to the Chassan in Bnei Brak, he told his friend, whoever, Moshe, you take the truma from the pile on my behalf. Does that work? And if yes, how do we know? Let's see. Let's see what the Mishnah has to say. Mishnah quoted over here. A person told his shliach, troim, go and give truma. How much was not declared? He doesn't know. He's calling the guy. He's in a chassan in Bnei Brak. The music is so loud he can't talk. He doesn't know. Meaning the person who's now in charge of taking truma on behalf of the owner is clueless as to how much does the Baal Habais want. So now, usually, Torem Kedas Baal Habais, if he knows how much he usually gives. Let's say Moshe knows that Baal Habais usually gives 140. Give 140, that's not such a big chiddush. Ve'im eino yodea das Baal Habais, let's say he doesn't know. He doesn't know. It's the first time I'm doing this. I'm new in the farm. I'm a new boy in the farm. Yeah, I have no idea how much the Baal Habais usually gives. It's big amounts. He has a huge amount of wheat here. Yeah, I don't know 160, 150, 140, and I don't want to do the wrong thing. Not only because I don't want to mess up with him. I don't know if he'll be yoitze, if that's his rotzon. Because if I'm as a shliach not working within the framework of the meshaleach, I'm not doing what he wants. It's a problem in the shlichus. What should you do? Play it safe, the golden path, the golden road. Do 150, play it safe, because then even if it's 40 or 60, you do the right thing. The normal average is 150. Go for the gold. However, let's say piches asora or hoisif asora, then truma soy truma. He gave 10 less. He gave 1/40th. Yeah, he gave 1/40th. That piches asora, which is really more. Yeah. In other words, he veered to one side. He gave 140 or 160. Baal Habais came and wasn't so happy. Still truma so truma. In other words, even if he changed to 40 or to 60, and it's not what the Baal Habais wants, it's still a good truma. Why? Says Rashi, and if we have time, we'll see beautiful verses here also. Yeah. Says Rashi. Rashi says, "The Omer lebehachi amadaticha." When you left to the chasana, when you told me to take truma, did you tell me how much? No. You basically left it open-ended, right? And since it's normal for many people to give 1/40th or 1/60th, right? That's how I estimated you. I thought you're a generous guy. I thought you're a 140 guy. And therefore the truma is truma. By you not telling me how much, it's ki'ilu you gave me all three options, 160, 150, 140. There's like a joke about the magician. He tells you which card you want to pick. Any card? No, not this one, right? The magician, right? Only the red ace. Yeah, you can't do that. If you left me before you left to the chassan in a rush and you told me take truma, what do you mean? You gave me three options to click on: 40, 50, 60. Don't scream at me now. Why did they take the 60 and not the 40? That was one of the options, which means in Lomdus, it's not Stam is trying to get away with murder. In the Lomdus of Shlichus, that's good Shlichus. Because Ki'ilu, you were meshalech me, you told me give 40 or 50 or 60. I opted for one of the three. I'm not against you, I'm with you. And it's normal that many people do 60 and many do 40 and many 50, right? Mainly it's okay. So now we're not going to test this now, but now the question is, that's all very nice, but the question is very, very basic. How do you know that shlichus bechlal applies to truma? How do you know that a person can be meshaleach, can actually appoint a shliach to take truma? Well, the obvious question is, what do you mean? Excuse me. Gerushin, Eshetish, woo. Gerushin, the Torah says, V'shilach v'shilcha, you can have shlichus. Kol sheken, to take some fruit from the granary, Avada, you can do that through shlichus. That's the Gemara. No, that's not true. As severe as gerushin is, and it is, nevertheless, excuse me, male gerushin sheken yeshnan choil. No, gerushin, if you know, in halacha, you always have at least 3 levels. You see it in Shabbos, you see Maseches Shabbos, you see it at the end of Chagiga, and many places. There are always 3 levels of severity, of how severe, how stringent things can be. Chol, Truma, and Kodshim. Yeah? For many things, and this is one of them. Anything of Choil, which has nothing to do with Truma. Truma is exclusive group called Koyanim. Where's your colleague? Yeah? The Kohanim, right? The Kohanim, anything to do with them is holier, right? Truma. Can I eat Truma? I think I'm a nice Jew. I try to be nice in Frum. If I eat Truma, what do I get? Misa b'nei Shamayim. You have a Kohen, he's allowed to eat Truma. So it's much more exclusive, right? Only Truma, only for Kohanim. Can I eat my regular food after I touch the dead rodent? I better wash my hands with soap very well. Make your din. You're allowed to eat food with tum'ah. Well, you are impure. It's not accepted by Chaverim, yeah? Are you allowed to eat truma with tuma? No way. Truma, you have to be kodesh. Now, kodshim, even higher. What? And you better know it now already. Kodshim, oh, only inside Yerushalayim, only koyanim or Israelim, some kind of kodshim kalim. Sometimes only male koyanim inside Beis Hamikdash. Oh, holy. In other words, there are different levels. Therefore, says the Gemara, it's not so simple what you're telling me. Just because gerushin, as severe as Eshet Ish is, generally speaking, Hulin, which means chol, it's between regular people. It's not something to do with exclusive group of kohanim or Beis Hamikdash. There, shlichus applies because shlichus is lighter, easier, extending, expanding. But maybe truma is a different story. Truma, you're dealing with something holier. Maybe that level of holiness requires you to take your own truma, and you can't send parrots to take the truma for you because it's a very holy thing. It's higher. So I don't know automatically to derive one from the other. Therefore, says the Gemara, a new source, or boisai, a new, not new instead of the other one, a new source for truma. Atem gam atem. It says in the Torah, Ken tarimu gam atem trumas Hashem. It says in the Torah a very, very redundant word. So too, you should take truma. Who else takes truma? The chimpanzees. Who takes truma? What do you mean when you say gam atem? Excuse the example, not so nice. What's gam atem? L'rabo says a shliach. Very good. In other words, it says you too should take shliach. There's another person that can take shliach besides you, the Baal Abayis. Who? Your shliach. Your shliach can take truma. So now we have 2 sources for 3 halachas. Gitin and Kiddushin, the 2 halachas, Gitin and Kiddushin, what are they? We learn from Gerushin, V'shilcha, plus the Yotza V'hoisa. The comparing always Kiddushin and Gerushin. And by Truma, which is a higher level, Truma can teach me regarding Truma. We learn it from Gam Atem. Kentarimu Gam Atem, L'rabo Shluchachem. Also your Shliach, as well as you, can take your Truma. Okay, very good. That's it for today. Tomorrow we may start with Tosfos or with the Gemara. We'll see. Seder. I told you the crux of Tosfos anyways, but we may see tomorrow too. Hatzlacha v'rachos. Thank you to everybody who was with us today here in Avos Shalom Koilel, full house almost. And thank you for our viewers in Torah anytime and on Zoom. Hatzlacha v'rachos. Thank you. Kol tuv hatzlacha. Good day. Mashiach. Ready to be Korim in a...